Hello everyone, this is video 311 where we're going to be going over a couple of practical tools for sharing the gospel. Later on in this unit we'll have the chance to focus a lot more specifically on having conversations and discipling relationships with people who aren't believers. But since that specific module is a little ways off, we wanted to go ahead and give you a couple of practical tools now as you begin to have some conversations with people and think about starting those discipling relationships for your summative assessment. So here's two practical tools that you can try out to help facilitate sharing the gospel in new relationships. The first is making a statement of faith when you meet someone. Now, we're not talking about a formal statement you might put on your church website. You're not going to be going up to people and introducing yourself by saying, "Hi, I'm Laura. I believe that Jesus is the Son of God and that he died to save my sins." And no, just don't do that. That's super awkward. That's not what we're talking about when we say make a statement of faith. What we mean by statement of faith is simply letting someone know that you're a Christian. There's a lot of simple and not at all awkward ways to do this that we'll get to in a second. But first, let me say it's really important that you make a statement of faith to a new acquaintance. You let them know that you're a Christian within the first 3 times that you meet them. If you wait longer than that, then it gets a lot harder to make that statement of faith in a natural way or even at all. And you're also going to be losing the authenticity of that relationship. Remember back, authenticity is one of the characteristics identified in effective disciplers. If they don't know within 3 meetings that you're a Christian, it's easy to come across like you're embarrassed or afraid of sharing that, or it's not an important part of who you are, none of which are going to set you up to ever be able to disciple them well. Or it could come across as if you're just trying to hoodwink them by befriending them and earning their trust before introducing that part of you to them. And that's a sure way to destroy their trust. So you need to make this statement of faith within the first 3 times that you meet with someone. So what does a statement of faith look like in a non-awkward way? There's really so many simple ways to do this. If your occupation happens to be in ministry, then you have it really easy. When you meet someone, one of the first questions that you tend to ask is, "What do you do for a living? Where do you work?" And if you ask this of someone else, then usually they're going to reciprocate and ask you the same thing, to which you can reply, "I'm a preacher, I'm a campus minister, I'm the youth minister at so-and-so church." And right away, they know that you're a Christian. If you don't happen to work in ministry, or even if you do, another great option is asking someone, "How was your weekend? What did you do?" And again, often then that question is going to be reciprocated, and they may ask you about your weekend, to which you can respond, "My weekend was pretty good. I went hiking on Sunday after church and, just got a good night's sleep." All right, there's another way that you stated that you're a Christian. And a third simple way to make this statement of faith is by praying or talking about prayer. If you're getting to know a new neighbor, you can invite them over for dinner. And before you sit down to eat, you can say, "Hey, before our meals, we like to sit down and say a prayer together. Would you mind if I pray?" So making that statement of faith within those first 3 meetings with someone can open the door for potential gospel sharing. And from then on, every interaction with that person, whether you explicitly mention God or church, can build their trust in you as a person of faith, and it reinforces what a person of faith looks like. And that is going to lead me then to the second tool for gospel sharing, which is servant evangelism. Now, you've probably heard this term before, or at least have an idea of what this means. The actual term servant evangelism was coined in 1985 by Steve Sjogren, but it's not a new concept, and we see it all through Scripture, from the Old Testament with things like Israel being directed to care for strangers, to the New Testament with things like the Golden Rule, treat others the way that you would want to be treated. Sjogren's definition of servant evangelism is demonstrating the kindness of God by offering to do some acts of humble service with no strings attached. He proposed that if we are willing to participate in acts of love and kindness through humble acts of service, then God's love will plant a seed that has a chance to grow into faith. There's a broad spectrum of what servant evangelism can look like. Anything from those simple, spontaneous acts of kindness to service as an expression of values, to social justice as a theological mandate. What differentiates servant evangelism from just random acts of kindness is that statement of faith. Kindness and service become evangelism when we deliberately attach a message about faith to our actions. And again, that doesn't mean that every time you do something kind for someone, you say, hey, I'm doing this because I'm a Christian. No. But if you've made that statement of faith, then all of your actions can be seen through that lens. Remember, part of discipleship is becoming like Jesus and doing what he did. So if we are truly doing what Jesus did, then we will be engaging in service. By serving as a natural result of your journey to do what Jesus did, you will be showing people Jesus. Again, I think you probably already have some concept of servant evangelism, and I hope this is something you have or are beginning to practice regularly. So I'm not going to spend more time talking about what servant evangelism is, and instead I want to move on to giving some more practical framework that you can use to help raise the level of intentionality and maximize the faith impact of service evangelism. So that framework consists of 3 categories. The first is their things in their spaces. So instead of you making a plan for an event or inviting someone over, this requires you to see your community. What are the things they value? What kinds of things are already taking place that you can be a part of? You may have heard of the National Night Out, which is a community building campaign that promotes a partnership between police and their community. And in Seattle and a lot of cities, the police department helps neighborhoods block off some neighborhood side streets in order for the houses on the street to gather outside for a meal together. Participating in something like this is a their things in their places event. We don't plan it, we don't host it, we just notice that it's happening and we join in. More examples could be maybe volunteering at your local food bank or your neighborhood school's fall festival. Their things in their places events are, I think, a little easier for you as an individual to find and jump in with, but what we've seen is that it's a little bit harder for churches as a whole to do, because churches tend to want to be the ones creating the event, initiating the food drive, hosting the back to school fair. But it is vital to your church's capacity to be a discipling church, to participate in community events that aren't planned by or hosted by you. Recently, Missio did a food drive in partnership with Sojourn Campus Ministry, I'm wearing their sweatshirt, at the University of Washington. We invited people to bring food, and for church one week as a community, we met at the University of Washington and delivered the food to the U District Food Bank. And that food bank, they know better than we do what the needs of the community are, so we just learned from them what are the items that you need the most. And we helped stock some of those items, and we also gave, as a church, we gave a donation to them since it's kind of a small space that they had and they couldn't hold too much inventory at once. So this was their event. This was their event. They are the experts on their community. We just help them carry out their event in their space, do their things in their places. The second category then is doing their things in our places. So you're still looking to your community for their thing. What's important to them? What are they involved in? But you're going to show them that because they value it, you also value it. And you're going to show them that by taking on some of the organization to extend that service into new areas or communities or to new people. So while this could mean actually hosting something in our place, our places isn't necessarily limited to a geographic place. It just signifies that you're not just participating in something, but you're taking some ownership in it. As you organize, you're going to invite other people to serve with you. And if they join you, they've entered into your space where you have more opportunity to speak about why you're doing this service. Maybe you could host the neighborhood night out in your front yard. Maybe you know your community does a winter clothing drive and you volunteer to go door to door to pick up coats, asking your closest neighbors if they want to join you in that. In Seattle, again in August, the Union Gospel Mission organizes a citywide event inviting people to a serve day, doing some projects at their neighborhood school. Our first year or two here, we participated in this event as a Their Things in Their Places event. But by our third year, Missio as a church stepped in as the group organizing the serve projects for our school. So we met with Guillermo at Northgate Elementary to hear from him what projects needed to be done. We did the prep work for the project before the day, and based on what projects were needed, we invited other people that we knew to come and help with them. One year we had several painting projects, and we had just been getting to know a new neighbor who owned a contracting business that did a lot of painting. So we invited him to help us with the paint projects, and he jumped in and helped with a lot of the prep work. He helped share supplies and then with the work on the actual day. So this is a Their Things in Our Places, or Their Things that we take some ownership of. And then the last category, I'm sure you can guess, is Our Things in Our Places. In this case, both the idea and the ownership are ours. And again, when possible, we can invite people to help us with them. And when it's an Our Things in Our Places event, it's going to be more overtly Christian, meaning the reason why you serve will be probably more explicitly expressed. They may expect to participate in a prayer or devotional if that's a part of what you're doing. And when people join you in these kinds of events, they are implicitly giving permission for you to share faith with them. This could be putting together Ziploc bags with items for homeless for you and others to keep in your car, and you post on your Facebook neighborhood group asking for donations of specific items. And since this is a Your Thing in Your Space event, you should be more clear that this act of service is an outflowing of your faith. So maybe you share that one of the items that you want to include is a handwritten note of encouragement with a prayer or a Bible verse. Pacific Crest, which is a church plant in Wenatchee, Washington, they host an art camp every year for children in their community. The Vine Church in Kennewick, Washington hosts an Easter egg hunt and a pancake breakfast. And the Southwest Church in Tigard, Oregon hosts a weekly breakfast at their local high school. So, 3 kinds of serving events. There's Their Things in Their Places, Their Things in Our Places, and Our Things in Our Places. Generally, we find that people in churches tend to be really good at one of these categories, but to have a more well-rounded discipling practice, it's helpful to think through each of these 3 scenarios and intentionally make a plan for some kind of serving activity in each one, both as an individual and also as a church. Focusing on all 3 areas can help you plug some of those holes that maybe you didn't even know were there. It can provide a variety of on-ramps for people for potential discipling relationships. And it also can provide a natural progression for discipleship with someone. For instance, you may have a neighbor that's somewhat antagonistic towards Christianity and would never join you for your yearly neighborhood Easter egg hunt. So first, you join him running a booth at his son's school's fall festival. And later you initiate a door-to-door coat pickup for the community winter drive that he's participated in every year. And then all of a sudden, It's not such a huge stretch for him to get up early to help you hide Easter eggs on a Sunday morning. So that's a quick summary of a couple simple tools that can help facilitate your sharing the gospel as a part of discipleship. Give a statement of faith within 3 times of meeting someone new, and participate in servant evangelism by intentionally investing in their things in their places, their things in your places, and your things in your places. In your next fieldwork assignment, you're going to get to put these into practice, which I hope is going to be a lot of fun for you. And I'm excited to see what kinds of things that you come up with.